by a show of hands, how many people know the difference between an S Corp and a C Corp? It's okay. No, listen, hey, I started off where you guys were. I had no idea. I heard these terms being thrown around in startup communities, and I had no idea what the difference was. So I'm happy to share with you the difference. The C and the S come from the subchapters in the IRS code, the IRC, okay? So a C Corp is your typical corporation. That's your default. And that is, your big name, your big corporation, right? The way it's structured from a tax perspective, you get taxed twice. The income on the corporation gets taxed, and then you get taxed personally on the dividends that get paid out of the corporation to you as the shareholder, okay? An S corporation is an election that you can make with the IRS that changes the tax structure of your corporation. Now, the structure itself will stay the same with some exceptions, but from a tax perspective, that all passes through and you pay tax only one time on your own 1040, that form that you file with the IRS at the end of the tax year, okay? From a structural perspective, here are the differences. Number one, the ownership can only be owned by, at the most, 100 people. And I say people, choosing that word specifically because an entity cannot have an ownership interest in an S Corp. So you could have a whole corporate structure where you have C Corp, LLC, all kind of owning each other, parents, subsidiaries, affiliates, what have you. An S corporation can only be owned by natural persons or people, not corporations. So that's number one. Number two, like I said, it has to be limited to 100 people. So you can't give out stock to that 101st person. And finally, number three, you can only create one level of stock. In a C corporation, you're allowed the flexibility to create different types of stock. You can have common stock, you can have preferred stock, and I'd be happy to tell you if you want to know about the difference between those two. I'd be happy to share the difference between those two. And then within each of those shares, you can have different classes. You could have a class 1A of common stock, class 1B, class 2, class 2. There's so many different layers of different types of common stock and preferred stock that you can have for different types of owners. So say, for example, co-founders versus key employees. Huge difference that you can have in terms of ownership, control, and the amount of money that can go through to those people, all right? So with an S corporation, everyone has the same shares of stock. So when you have an S corporation, your structure can be limited, but the tax implications can really save you a lot of money in the long run.